You play another cool guy. You actually do all of his crazy cool animations. We're talking about the legendary character in Gears of War, Marcus Fenix. You've been doing all kinds of motion capturing and stunts, not just for movies, but for video games for a long time. How'd you get hooked up with Gears of War?
Gears of War came along because a good friend of mine, Rob Hader, who he's actually a World Stunt Award recipient for one of the most brutal car hits I've ever seen in my life. I have no idea how he didn't die. That was for I Love You, Beth Cooper. But Rob was brought on to coordinate Gears of War Ultimate when they decided to redo the first Gears of War and do it in Vancouver. So they asked Rob, because he knows all the local performers, to bring in some people for them to look at who might be suitable for certain roles. And I love to tell this story because Rob said he was watching footage of the characters to see who he wanted to bring in. And he looked at some footage of Marcus Fenix, and they just close up on his face. And Marcus is looking down and he goes, and right there, Rob goes, Lazenby. And that was pretty much it, man. They brought me in, and it ended up being an excellent fit. So I was Marcus Fenix.
And I gotta say, Gears of War 4 was TSC Gaming's #1 game of the year. I absolutely loved playing it. I wasn't a big Gears guy, actually, until you got cast as Marcus Fenix. And playing that game, I mean, I really see what the big fuss is all about. Did it take you a while to see what the fuss is all about? Like, did you go through the whole process, and then once the game came out, you were like, holy crap, this is crazy? Or did you understand the fan base of this massive franchise going into this project?
Well, I picked up on how big it was pretty quick. I mean, after I got the job, I'm not a gamer myself. I'm scared to get a gaming system because there are awesome games like Gears out there, and I know I'll just get addicted to them and never go outside. So I'm not really tapped into the gamer community as such. But when I got the job, I thought I got to be a professional. I'll get on YouTube and get online and find out about Gears. And very quickly realized this is a huge franchise. This is a massive, massive franchise. And that meant that I had a heavy, heavy responsibility to the millions of people who play Gears, because that whole franchise revolves around Marcus Fenix. He's the guy. And so it was very important to me to watch as much Gears footage as I could on YouTube and read up on Gears as much as I could and read up on Marcus as much as I could to make sure that I was doing justice to that character. And that's why it made me feel very good to be brought back for Gears of War 4 after Ultimate came out and know that I had done a decent job and I had done justice to the character for all the gearheads around the world.
Now, last time I checked, I think the very first video game credit you had, if I'm not mistaken, it was Def Jam Vendetta?
No, it was Marvel Nemesis Rise of the Imperfects.
Wow.
But that may have been released after Def Jam Vendetta. We shot Marvel Nemesis, I believe, in 2002. And yeah, that was for a little over a decade. I was the in-house big guy for Electronic Arts, who have a giant complex in Burnaby, BC on the outskirts of Vancouver. That's thanks to my good buddy Ken Sia, who works in the motion capture department. We met socially, and then he recommended I be brought in for an audition for Marvel Nemesis. And then I ended up being their guy for any big dudes. And yeah, it was a real good run, a little over 10 years with EA. And it was fun to watch the technology evolve too, because I'll tell you what, 2002 technology means that you end up taking a hellacious beating as a mocap performer to get the footage that they need. And now the technology's evolved to the point where it's not quite as bad.
For those watching at home that aren't too sure of what goes into doing mocap, what's a day in the life of Paul Lazenby playing Marcus Fenix?
Well, the Marcus Fenix gig isn't particularly punishing because there's a lot of acting involved. That's one thing a lot of people don't realize is the motion capture team, we do everything except the voices. But we still read the lines. We're doing exactly what we would be doing if that were a feature film or a TV show. And that means all the stunts. That means all the biggest stuff, right down to all the most minor little acting beats and the most subtle little things. So you really have to be an actor. You can't just be walking through the motions. We generally show up and ROM in, which is you just go through a series of physical movements so that the computer cameras all around us can pick up on the markers that are all over our bodysuits. And then we converse with the director. We go over the shots for the day. And then we just run through them, and it's a lot of fun. I love the team at Animatrix Studios. I love the Coalition. I love the cast of Gears of War, except for Alex Ponovic, who's really creepy and gross. So I hope you're watching this, Alex. You're gross. But yeah, it's like working on a TV show, like working on a movie, but a little bit different in that there's less pressure with regards to camera angles and hitting your mark and stuff like that, and so you get a little bit more room to play.